This is the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Good evening. Welcome inside the RebZone. Kevin Bolinger alongside UNLV head football coach Tony Sanchez. The Rebels with a bye this week, so no game to talk about, but certainly some time for the team to heal and rest and then start preparations ahead. How did you handle this past week?
You know, bye weeks are always great. You get the guys' legs back, get them fresh. You know, you'd like to have them a little bit later on in the season. It was kind of early right here, but, you know, guys did a really good job of all their prep work, and we got some good stuff in, and at the same time, you know, we were able to shorten practice a little bit, and then we got some good recruiting done. Yeah,
it's important for your staff to get out and recruit during this high school season right now as well, and you only get that opportunity maybe once or twice during your actual season, so you're able to kind of fan out across the country, right?
Absolutely, and you know, and obviously head coaches aren't allowed on the road in the spring, so it's the first time I've been back out on the road in a while, so it's good getting back out there and kind of getting in the trenches. But yeah, we spread our guys out over a bunch of different states, went and saw a bunch of really good high school football games, and you know, got in front of a lot of really good players, so that's important to always do.
And in terms of the practices you had, were you already looking ahead to Ohio State, or did you install some stuff or look at some things for San Jose State or Air Force or some of those other teams you're going to face down the road?
Yeah, you know what we did is you go back to Sunday night a week ago, and we spent a little segment of time working option. You know, that's such a unique thing. You know, you can't, you know, obviously we don't want to mess with it this week, and as we got later on in the week, we wanted to really focus on Ohio State. So we took a little time, 15 minutes on the Sunday. We did stuff in the camp, and we did it in the spring also, just so you're freshened up when you see that and you're a little bit more assignment sound. But then after that, when you came back on Tuesday, it was right back to Ohio State and getting some good work in. Again, you know, getting their legs back, shortening it, but getting some good work. So now, you know, this week, it'll be the second time they've done third down, second time we've done high red, low red, second time we've done short yardage. So we can actually shorten the practices again a little bit, because after this, we're going to have to go a long stretch without any breaks. So, you know, it's kind of the hand you're dealt, but we're excited about this week.
Yeah, the focus now squarely on the Buckeyes, because this week, UNLV makes a big trip to Columbus to take on Ohio State.
Ohio State comes into the game against UNLV still smarting from a home loss to Oklahoma, and they're using it as motivation moving forward.
You go from devastated to crushed to pissed, and then you got to move forward as a leader and get going. And so we're somewhere between 2 and 3 right now. The pissed and the moving forward.
Even with the loss, the Buckeyes are still favored to make college football's playoff, provided they don't have another slip-up. And make no mistake about it, it is a highly talented bunch. Quarterback J.T. Barrett is a proven winner, but has struggled so far this season under a new offensive coordinator. The Buckeyes still like to run the football, and the Rebels will likely see a lot of it. Defensively, this is a team that causes all kinds of problems, especially on the front line, where they're considered the best and deepest in the country, sometimes even playing a 5-man defensive front with 4 ends in the game. The defensive end to watch is reigning Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year Tyquan Lewis, who will require a lot of attention. Then there's the atmosphere. The Horseshoe is one of the gems of college football, with more than 100,000 rabid fans in attendance. Composure and staying in the moment will be key for the Rebels.
So obviously the Buckeyes pose some big challenges for UNLV. How do you approach this game in terms of looking what they do compared to just doing what you do?
Yeah, you know, I really think you got to. I mean, you got to schematically get after it like you play in it. You know, anybody else you play. But however, you know, there's some realities there that you got to. You know, we're going to have to be aggressive. We're going to have to take some shots down the field. Think outside the box a little bit to give ourselves an opportunity. The hardest thing about a team like this is the amount of depth they have at places like defensive line. When they're rolling 8 guys in, and all 8 guys are potential NFL guys. I mean, that's what the projections say up front there. It's pretty scary, you know. But, you know, we've been there before. Our guys went to the Rose Bowl last year and played a heck of a game against UCLA and gave ourselves a shot in the 4th quarter. You know, some of these guys, not all of them, but a lot of these guys, you know, been to the big house and, you know, played well in that game like that. So going to the Horseshoe, it's a great life experience, you know, as far as the atmosphere. You're going to play in front of a huge crowd. But at the end of the day, you want to go fight for a win. And that's a tough task. when you're playing a team like that.
When you have over 100,000 people in a place like that, and it's a big stadium, so I know the plan is to get the players out there on Friday just to kind of take that all in, correct?
Yeah, we'll get on out there. We'll leave on the Thursday, so that way we'll wake up there, kind of dealing with that time change a little bit. And then on Friday we'll go out and get a practice in the morning at a different location. Then we'll head on over there to the Horseshoe, let them take out their cameras, let them take pictures, let them kind of enjoy the experience. We'll rally them up, talk to them a little bit, so that way when they walk into the stadium for the first time, they've been there, they've seen it, there's no wow factor, they've gone through it. Now the crowd will be a little different. I mean, when you're playing in front of 100,000 people, it's a different deal. It's pretty cool. So again, but we've been in front of big crowds before, and our kids have handled it well, and we fully expect them to handle it well this week.
You guys will probably not play in front of a louder crowd this season. You do have a freshman quarterback, and I know you play music at practice, but do you turn the music up a little bit more? Do you pipe in any crowd noise in practice this week to get Armani Rogers a little more used to what he's going to have to do at the line of scrimmage with all the noise? Yeah,
it's a little different when it's crowd noise. Crowd noise is a little bit more breaky. It sounds a little different, but we do crank the music up pretty loud at practice. And I'll tell you that it's kind of the method of the madness too. It's not just to listen to music; it's to get them to really focus in, have to listen to huddle calls, signal calls, and so you deal with that every single day at practice. Again, now you're in a competitive environment and you're hearing that same type of noise. It's something that they're definitely going to have to deal with. And again, Armani now, going into his third game, still his third game, college football, it's a big stage to be on. So settling guys like that down, and again, just the way we approach it practice, they'll be all right.
We're looking forward to that trip. We'll be with the team in Columbus, and we'll have a preview for you on Friday night on Fox 5 News at 10, and then, of course, we'll break everything down for you on the game that Saturday night and next Sunday in the RebZone. Time for us to take our first break, but when we come back, we're talking about Lightning. Yes, it's Lexington Thomas who's having breakout game after breakout game for the Rebels. We sit down and talk with him and talk about where the Rebels go now that Charles Williams is not in the mix for the rest of the season. That's in just 2 minutes as the RebZone rolls on.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by R.C. Willey. Your home, your way.
Lexington Thomas has been putting up a lot of 100-yard games, and now he is going to get a lot of the rushes with Charles Williams out. We had a chance to talk to Thomas after his latest big game, that 190-yard, 3-touchdown effort up in Idaho.
Lexington Thomas has been rolling up yardage and big plays since arriving at UNLV. The junior already has 9 100-yard games, even though he's shared carries with other backs. So far this season, he's gone for 151 yards against Howard and 190 against Idaho, with 5 total touchdowns, and is currently among the nation's leaders in rushing. He says it's all about seeing the field.
We're taught to read our read keys. It depends on the fronts. The defense runs, we're just looking at our read keys. And other than that, what's behind the line of scrimmage, that's the team. But beyond that, that's on me.
Thomas loves the fact that he gets to run behind a veteran offensive line that has opened up some huge lanes for him. That's when he lights up.
Big guy, I'll be so excited because when I see it, I'll be like, oh, this is touchdown, help the team. It's just amazing when I see it. When the O-line open the holes up that big, I can't do nothing but run.
UNLV has a strong group of running backs, and even though they compete to get touches, the group is especially tight.
We're a big family. Regardless of who's hot and who's not, we're going to love each other. We're going to celebrate with anybody and everybody, no matter from the number 1 all the way to the number 5. We're going to celebrate regardless of who wins.
Off the field, Thomas is also one of the most personable and colorful Rebel football players, with a smile that lights up the room. The one thing missing was a nickname, but that all changed last year at Hawaii, when the legendary Hawaiian sportscaster Robert Kekaula and his broadcast partner pinned a name on him that stuck.
First and 10, 34-yard line. Lexington Thomas across the 20, inside the 10. Wow. Second effort. Touchdown. Rebels. 34 yards of Lightning.
Yeah, I heard him say it. I was like, yeah, that's the one. I'm sticking with that one. That's just been my name ever since then.
He even switched his Twitter account to add the Lexington Lightning. Now Thomas is working hard to live up to the name as he continues to bolt into the open field and light up defenses.
So Thomas brings a couple of different things to his dynamic in terms of he's a small guy and he's got lots of speed, but he's not afraid to mix it up and get between the tackles and lower his shoulder there to get the yards.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's shown it time and time again. That's one of the things when we recruited him, you really saw a lot of toughness. You know, whenever you're taking a small back, obviously they got to have speed. You know, and then when you take a guy, you know, at the time come out of high school, he's barely 168, 170 pounds. He's heavier now, but you know, do they have the toughness to play that position? Because that's a tough position. You got to be able to pass pro and insert yourself. You know, you got to be able to convert a 3rd and 1 goal line situations. And time again, he's shown his mental toughness, his physical toughness, and you know, he plays a lot bigger than he is.
He also has gotten better, and we've talked about this in the past, in terms of picking up a blitz or something if he has to in pass protection.
Absolutely. You know, you go back to a week ago and, you know, that pass protection that he picked up on the big touchdown, and he's continually doing that more and more and more. So just seeing him progress, he's done a better job at catching the ball out of the backfield. You know, we've got to create some more opportunities for him, but that's something he struggled early on with and has gotten better at. So, you know, he's a junior, beginning of his junior year, and, you know, he's progressing the way a great football player progresses. He's gotten better every year. He's getting better every week, every game, and you know, we're excited to watch him, you know, play this year.
This is one position group that has a lot of depth, and you knew that going in. Charles Williams had ankle surgery. He's out for the season, but you still have, besides Thomas, Xavier Campbell, and I would assume we're going to be seeing some more of Evan Owens as well.
Absolutely, and at some point you'll see Tariq also. So that's a very talented group. I mean, that was a big point of emphasis when we first got here, was, you know, kind of changing that group around a little bit, and they've done a tremendous job. I mean, and all those guys you've talked about, they've gotten opportunities, you know, and they'll get more and more and more, and it's really the next man in philosophy. Is
there any, when you're switching in some maybe running backs that haven't been with the first team a lot in practices, with Armani Rogers, are the basics still the same, but when you have a small guy like Lexington Thomas, Evan Owens, maybe a little bit bigger, do you have to do some reps in practice to get used to the exchange?
Yeah, you really do. And, you know, and that's one of those things where, you know, in games, you know, that's not the time to experiment. But when you're at practice, we roll those guys in quite a bit with the ones, so they do get some of that huddle familiarity, exchange familiarity. And then exchanges just in general, we work that every single day. So that's a 10-minute period in practice where it's literally, you know, snap, exchange with the running backs, because it's a different ball height for each back. And, you know, it's not just generally handing the ball off. You got to know who it is you're playing with.
And the rush game has been great so far this season for the Rebels, and that's going to pay dividends down the road as we work through the Mountain West schedule in terms of setting up play action and a lot of other things that you can do with this offense when you have a solid core of running backs that defenses have to respect.
No doubt about it. I mean, it forces people to drop more guys in the box. It forces defenses to have to play safety into, you know, run fits, and when you're doing that, you're going to end up with one high safeties, and you're going to have some shots like you saw a week ago. So that's really important, and it'll help Armani give him a little bit of an opportunity to make some big plays with those great receivers. So that's something that's needed, and I've always believed if you're going to be a great football team, you got to play good defense. You got to be able to run the football.
We're going to look forward to paying attention to what Thomas and the rest of the running backs do in Columbus this weekend. We're going to take another short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the unheralded people that help make this football program go. It is the film crew that not only is filming the games, but practices and everything else. We're going to let you know what they do and why they do it and how it helps. Straight ahead.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by R.C. Willey. Your home, your way.
In order for any college football program to work, you have to have a lot of people working behind the scenes. Now, one of the groups of that is the film crew for UNLV that does a whole lot of stuff that helps the team succeed on the field.
Scattered around UNLV football practice are 6 people you probably don't notice. 4 up on lifts, 2 at ground level. They may be anonymous, but they're a crucial part to Rebel success. Nice job, nice job. It's the video operations team, led by Joe Maggio.
It's really just a matter of getting them everything, getting the coaches and the team everything that they need to really, be prepared as best as they can when it comes to video.
Maggio has 1 full-time assistant and 6 students. in charge of social media video, but more importantly, every piece of video for game prep. It begins with practice.
Within 10 minutes or so after practice, everything is ready for the coaches to watch and ready for the GAs to break down. And I mean, they're breaking down everything from down, distance to, personnel formations and all that stuff for the coaches to really review, analyze, and watch.
When getting film prep for games, the compilation on a team begins early and doesn't stop.
On a weekly basis, we're bringing in 12 opponents plus our Mountain West opponents. So, we're bringing in 10 to 15 games a week.
The video crew's job is to make sure the Rebels coaches have information for all tendencies and situations.
What did one team do on 3rd and 3 to 5 in the red zone? And it's we can get as in depth as we want with our breakdowns and cut-ups and reports.
Invisible to fans, yes. Invaluable to a football team, absolutely. The sleepless nights and blurry eyes from staring at a video screen all day get paid off with a W on Saturdays.
It's what I love doing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So sleep can come in the off season.
So this is something that we don't really see as a fan as much, but these guys are out there working their tails off and getting you guys different angles in practice and in game situations. Let's start with the practice part. Yeah. What do you guys use with the material that they give you that helps this team move forward?
Well, I mean, football is such it's such an evaluation sport. I don't know any other sport that evaluates practice the way the football does. So you're getting, we call it end zone shots, which is behind the guys. You're getting that shot, and then you're getting a sideline shot, and then they've got to get those shots, and then as soon as practice is over, they got to intercut them. So when you're watching film, you're watching the sideline shot, then the end zone, sideline, and end zone. So you get a clearer picture of what's going on. It's just a great teaching tool. So that's just one of the many things that they do.
And then after the games, especially road games, they're on the plane editing. They're already working cut-ups for the assistant coaches and the position groups. And those are things that you take right to those guys the next day, right?
100%. I mean, for example, a week ago you get done with the Idaho game, and as soon as the game's over and you're getting on the bus, they're handing you an iPad, and the game's already loaded on it. It's already intercut. It's already ready to go. So again, when you're traveling home on a plane or something like that, you can grab your notepad and go ahead and start your work right away. A night like that night, you get home you land, you get back to Vegas at 12:30 at night, and then you got to be back in the office at 8 a.m. the next day, and you get the kids coming in to watch film. So it's all useful time. So they do a really good job of that.
And in terms of prepping for a team that's coming up that next week, trying to see tendencies and stuff, they're the ones that are responsible, I guess, for editing things and then taking any requests from coaches that say, hey, I want to see this situation. So you have everything at your disposal. I would assume that is also something that in terms of getting ready for a game that you can pull something up very quickly is going to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game's all about tendencies. It's all about likelihoods. It's all about, making educated guesses on things. And so the film crew, along with our graduate assistants, our GAs go in and they do a lot of the inputting. It's first down and 10 at the negative 32-yard line on the right hash, and what coverage are they in, or what offense, what personnel group. So there's a lot of information that's got to be inputted in there. And Joe Maggio, our head film guy, he's working with those guys to make sure it all gets done right. And then as soon as all that stuff is in there, then you start watching film based on formations, based on situations. We don't just watch the game film. I mean, we literally cut it up and we'll watch all 11 personnel, and then we'll watch 12 personnel. We'll watch red zone, high red, low red. We'll watch short yardage, goal line, and you watch them all differently, and then collectively you bring it all together with statistical information, and again, you become a better guest taker.
Football's changed over the last couple of decades with technology, hasn't it?
Well, I remember when I was at Oñate High School, and me and the guy named Chad Wong, we were in charge of the VHS tapes. You had 2 VHS tapes, and you had to hit start, stop to get it to go to 1, and that took forever. So I'm glad. And some of the Coach Bear, they were using 9mm when he first started.
I'm sure he's loving the technology
Exactly.
now. One final break for us. We're going to come back with some final thoughts on the Ohio State game, and we're going to show you some of the plays of the year so far on the first 2 games for the Rebels. Stay with us.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by R.C. Willey. Your home, your way.
So a big week ahead for the Rebels, a tall task as well. It's not easy for any team to go into Ohio State. What are you expecting to see out of your team when you get to Columbus?
You know, we want to see our guys dialed in, ready to go, ready to compete their tails off with a great game plan to go out and execute and fight for a win. I mean, it's like you said, it's a tall order. It's an Urban Meyer coach football team. They're Ohio State, every resource in the world, and great football players to go with it. So, but at the end of the day, it's still football. So you just got to line up. You just be assignment sound, go out there and play your tails off.
Well, the Rebels have had good past in terms of you guys went into Michigan and played them really tough. You've played at the level of the opponents enough that there's hope that this team's going to go in there. We know they're going to compete.
They are. You know, the biggest thing is keep your head down, play with some emotion, play your tails off, and you know what, good things will happen. And we'll see where it all ends up. You know, I mean, again, this is a darn good football team, one of the top football teams in the country year in and year out. So it's exciting. You got to be fired up to go play in those environments.
We're looking forward to it. Good luck on Saturday. We'll be with the team in Columbus. We're going to break it all down next Sunday in the RebZone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to leave you with some of the best Rebel football players of their first 2 games of the season. We'll see you next Sunday. Good night.
It's time to rattle the cage. It's time for us to go.
Keep my hands on myself. Pick out dust and mold, put them back up on the shelf. Yes, my little baby girl is in need. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Might have had your fill, but I feel it still.
The Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show was presented by RC Willey. Your home, your